Topaz wanters and Noombi must-havers. In today's video, we're going to be talking about everything that you're going to need for your Topaz and Noombi when she comes out to the game in a little bit over a week now. This is going to go over all the materials you're going to need and everything like that. We're also going to talk about her skills, best Lightcones, best relics, best stats you need for those relics, and everything like that. So, if you want and love your Noombi, I know a lot of people said that they love Noombi more after the story quest. Some people had some hot takes saying that they liked her less after it. What's wrong with you? So first, let's briefly talk about kind of what she does. They explain kind of what she does in the live stream, but we're just going to briefly go over it first here. So her main thing is going to be her talent. Her talent is what summons Noombi in. This is where the majority, literally all of her damage is going to be coming from, is Noombi. Noombi is going to be the trotter that deals the damage. And basically how Noombi's attacks is different from the Lightning Lord in a way, because he attacks an enemy that is inflicted with the proof of death debuff, meaning you can target who you want to be attacked with Noombi, and his action is going to be advanced forward depending on if that enemy gets hit with a follow-up attack or not. So the more follow-up attacks you have, the more damage he'll do, because the more often he'll go. This brings us into our skill though, which is the thing that actually puts the proof of death status effect on the enemy. And basically what this debuff does is it makes the enemy take an increased amount of follow-up damage, and also increases the amount of damage Noombi will do when using the skill on an enemy. And I would bring up what the basic attack does, but there's not really any point of really bringing it up right now, because I can't talk about the main thing because it hasn't been released yet. So we'll just talk about the ultimate. Basically what the ultimate does is it gives him a Super Saiyan buff. He becomes extra stonks. He becomes the stonks. This will be increasing the damage he's able to do by a lot, and this will also be making him go a lot more often as well. It doesn't really rely on follow-up attacks at that point, but this does only last for 2 of his attacks, so just keep that in mind when actually using this. And there's also something else that this does, but I can't talk about it again because, you know, can't get this video taken down because of leaks and stuff like that. So just know that this does do something else when in this state, and will help you out as far as getting back to the ultimate, I guess you could say. Anyways, let's go ahead and hop into all the mats you're gonna need for her now, starting off with the amount of credits you're gonna need, which is 3.9 million credits. You might have to farm some depending on how much you have left, or if you didn't pull for Jingle You or not, but we also have the new event running on right now, which does give you quite a bit of credits. You're also going to be needing 290 XP books of the purple variant. Now, they don't all have to be purple. You just need the XP value to be equivalent to 290 of the XP books. I know it's not really reasonable to get 290 of these, especially if you're building a lot of characters. You're going to need 65 of the new red ascension things to actually increase her level. This is going to come from the new boss we have in the game right now, so just farm him up and you'll get these red boss materials really easily. You're going to need 12 of the Fantilia boss materials. She's the weekly boss. Just farm her a couple times. You'll get everything you need from there. As far as the trace materials go, you're going to need 134 of the big arrows, 64 of the medium arrows, and 18 of the small arrows. As far as your small trace materials, or your easier to get ones, you're going to need 73 of the large badges, 71 of the medium badges, and 56 of the small badges. Now, this is going to be everything you need to actually just build Topaz, but if you want to pull her Lightcone, I can't talk about what the Lightcone does, and we'll talk about Lightcones in a bit here after this section, but if you want to build that Lightcone up, you're going to need 890,000 credits, 166 of those purple level up materials that you need for leveling up Lightcones, 15 of the large hunt arrows, 12 of the medium, 4 of the small, and as far as the badges, you're going to need 14 large badges, 20 medium badges, and 20 small badges. And this comes out to a grand total of 4.79 million credits, 149 of the big hunt arrows, 76 of the medium ones, 22 of the small ones, and as far as your badges, it's going to be 87 of the large badges, 91 of the medium badges, and 76 of the small badges. So this is going to be everything that you need on screen now for your Topaz. Take a screenshot or whatever. If I can improve this chart in any ways, please let me know down in the comments below. So hopping into the Lightcones now, her best in slot Lightcone is going to be her signature Lightcone. I can't talk about what it does, but this does do a lot for her, and if we can assume what it does is probably going to do something to increase follow-up attack damage, because her whole kit revolves around follow-up damage, so we can assume that it's going to increase something like that. No leakers here, trust me. Her second best in slot I think is probably going to be cruising in the Stellar Sleeve, which is actually a free-to-play Hurl Lightcone. This is going to help aid you in getting to that 50% crit threshold that you need to meet to actually activate Salsada, which is what I believe to be her Blessed Planner set, but you're going to need that 50% at least to actually activate the increased follow-up attack damage from that. And her third best in slot maybe probably maybe swordplay. I don't know. We're gonna have to do some testing to figure out if the damage stacks whenever Noombi does their attacks, so we'll just have to wait to see that. I do think that swordplay is going to be a fairly good option if it is the case though. But more importantly than the light cone, what do you need to actually make her function? That's right, a team. You need a team to make her function to her fullest and make her more capable. So how do you want to run a team? So I think it's pretty obvious. You're going to want to run at least one sustain unit on the team, and of course TOPAZ is on the team, so that leaves us with 2 slots to fill in here. Now her kit does give you increased follow-up attack damage, and Noombi will also make more follow-up attacks if other people on her team are doing follow-up attacks. So what can I recommend here? Maybe Clara Himiko, maybe Clara Asta, maybe Himiko Asta. Really, you want at least one extra follow-up unit on the team, or someone else on the team that can do follow-up attacks to really be proccing Noombi off as much as possible. That's what I would recommend on the team. And also Asta as well, because Asta will be increasing the fire damage that you can deal to the enemies, as well as getting her speed up, which makes her go faster, which means she can use her basic attack more, which means maybe Noombi will work off of her basic attacks. I would run a pretty standard team of TOPAZ, 1 follow-up character, 1 buffer, and 1 sustain, or maybe even run 2 follow-up attackers and then 1 sustain with her. But that's what I would recommend as far as teams go. But with that out of the way now, if you've made it to this point in the video, maybe you would consider subscribing to the YouTube channel, because maybe you've enjoyed the content up until this point, so it would really help out if you maybe close that gap between the 10% of people that are subscribed and the 90% of people that aren't subscribed. Let's get this goal closer to 80%, or maybe even 85%. Without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into what I think her best in slot relic is, which is going to be 2-piece of the Flame and 2-piece of the Musketeer. The reason I say this is because a 2-piece of the Musketeer will increase her attack damage, which plays directly into what Noombi's damage is going to be, and then a 2-piece Flame set, which is also going to be giving her increased fire damage, which will inherently increase Noombi's damage as well. Another set you could run would be 4-piece of the Musketeer, because it's further increasing that attack damage, and it's also giving her a boost of speed. And I'm a bit hesitant to recommend the 4-piece of the Flame set, because it does play off of her skill damage, and maybe I'm wrong on this, maybe I'm coping out on this, but from what it says is you get increased skill damage after using an ultimate, but if her skill doesn't do like damage and it's Noombi doing the damage, is that considered skill damage, or is that considered follow-up damage? Because if it's considered follow-up damage, I don't think this would affect it too much. I could be coping out on this. Let me know in the comments below. Like I said, I'm not sure on this. If it does count as skill damage, then this would also be a very viable set to run. If it doesn't, then I wouldn't run the 4-piece Flame set if it doesn't consider skill damage. And then as far as the planar sets go, I would just recommend a 2-piece Salsado. This is going to be increasing the follow-up attack damage and the ultimate damage. We're really not worried about the ultimate damage too much. It's really just a follow-up attack damage, because that's where the majority of our damage is coming from. You could also run a 2-piece Space Sealing Station here as well. This could also help because it just gives you some extra attack, right? But you don't necessarily have to invest too heavily into these sets, because, you know, MiHoYo, they haven't released a relic set in a long time, and we might be getting some new ones in version 1.5, wink wink, that would maybe help follow-up damage or dot damage even. So maybe that's the route you want to go with something like that, you know? I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe I'm coping out, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm just, you know, I'm just thinking outside the box here. We haven't gotten one since the speed set like 2 updates ago, so I mean, maybe. Let's go ahead and now hop into the main and subsets you want to be running on her. On the boots, I would recommend running speed on the boots. You want her to be as fast as possible, so she's able to proc Noombi off as much as possible. Also on the body, I would recommend either running crit damage or crit rate. I would recommend running crit rate if you can't reach that 50% crit threshold she needs to meet. If you can reach that 50% threshold, then just running crit damage, I think that'll be completely fine. For the sphere, you're going to want to run fire damage here. I mean, attack, you could run, but I mean, fire damage overall is just better. And finally, on the rope, I would recommend running energy regen or attack percentage. Now, I know, I say energy regen for most characters because I like them ulting as much as possible, because that, you know, is like the main thing, right? The main thing with most characters is the ult. I mean, her ult gives her a lot, right? So why not ult more often so you can have more follow-up attack damage? That's why I recommend energy regen over attack. You might think I'm copium, and we'll do some tests on her when she actually comes out to see what's actually better, but I do recommend energy regen regen over attack percentage. I'm not saying attack percentage is not going to be viable. I just recommend energy regen because let's be honest, you're probably not running Ting Yun on the same team as her. If you're running someone like Danny or Jing Liu or even Jing Yuan, you're probably more so putting her on a team with those characters that need her more. And then finally hopping into the substats now, pretty easy. Just run speed. You want to get as much speed as possible. Crit rate is a big number 2 thing. Like I said, you need to reach that 50% threshold, and after you've reached that, you can just focus all on crit damage. So if you're running a crit damage body, you probably want to get as much crit rate substats that you possibly can, because you need like 13 rolls of it to get to where she needs to be, considering other things in her kit we can't talk about. And then finally, attack percentage. This is going to increase Noombi's damage. This is the main damage dealer of the team, which is Noombi. So yes, pretty sweet, pretty simple, pretty to the point. So I mean, that's what I would recommend as far as that goes. But anyways, gamers, that's gonna do it for our little guide today on TOPAZ and Noombi and everything you're gonna need for her. If you enjoyed this video, maybe leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're also gonna be having a video come out on why not to summon for TOPAZ if you're on the fence about her still, and a video on why to summon for TOPAZ. We'll also be doing one of those for Zila as well, and a build guide for QQ in the next coming days. So that's kind of like my content schedule for the next couple days. If you're interested in anything like that, then maybe consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. I'm also working on a video right now that's not any of those videos, that talks about basically the power creep of the Hunt class and just, I guess, power creep in the game in general. Anyways, if you want to watch that, subscribe to the channel. That's gonna do it. See you gamers later, and good luck on your TOPAZ pulls. Anyways, bye guys, see you later, bye bye.